Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are going to study about hypothalamic and pituitary hormones. Now hypothalamus produces two types of neuroendocrine factors, neuropeptides and releasing factors. The neuropeptides are ADH and oxytocin, and the releasing factors are gonadotropin, growth hormone releasing hormone, somatostatin, thyrotropin releasing hormone, gonadotropin releasing hormone, platelet inhibitory factors, and others. So these are the neuropeptides and releasing factors that are released by hypothalamus neuropeptides. Now, these are produced by the supraoptic and paraventricular nuclei of hypothalamus. The precursors are just long polypeptides synthesized in hypothalamus, and then they are cleaved in active molecule and transported to the posterior pituitary to be stored, and they are released to bloodstream whenever needed via exocytosis. So first of all, we'll study about antidiuretic hormone. So this antidiuretic hormone is of two varieties or two types, arginine vasopressin and lysine vasopressin. So the main action of this antidiuretic hormone, as the name indicates, is to prevent diuresis. So diuresis means excretion of water from your body, and antidiuretic hormone will not let that water be excreted from your kidneys. Now, this acts on the distal convoluted tubules of the kidneys, and it causes the reabsorption of water. So it is an antidiuretic. So this active molecule are small polypeptides which have 9 amino acids, and arginine vasopressin and the lysine vasopressin, they differ in their configuration at amino acids 3 and 8. Okay, so here you will see in the third position we have phenylalanine. Here you have isoleucine. Then here we have in the 8th position we have arginine, whereas here we have leucine. So this is the difference between the two vasopressins. This is not oxytocin. Okay, so the biological activities depends on the following 4 things. The C-terminal glycinamide, if you see this glycinamide, okay, the terminal glycinamide. The side chain amide groups of glutamine and asparagine. You know there are asparagine and glutamine. So their amide chains are the things that give the biological activities to these molecules. The OH group of tyrosine and the intra-chain disulfide linkage between cysteine of first and sixth amino acid. If you go back, you will see this is the first cysteine, this is the sixth cysteine. So the disulfide bond here also, this also gives the biological activities to this ADH. Mechanism of action. As I already told you, it acts on the distal convoluted tubular cells. So what will happen? The antidiuretic hormone will bind to the membrane receptor. It will activate the adenylate cyclase system. Once the adenylate cyclase system is activated, cyclic AMP is produced. This secondary messenger will activate protein kinases. These protein kinases will phosphorylate the proteins of microtubules and microfilaments, and the net result is reabsorption of water. So the water is reabsorbed in the body, so it will lead to the formation of hypertonic urine with less amount of water. There will be increased concentration of sodium, phosphate and urea. So metabolic effects of antidiuretic hormone, there is this diuretic action, okay, then there is urea retention action, When water is retained, the urea is also retained in the body. Glycogenolytic effect by increased intracellular calcium. And then there is a metabolic effect, which is the pressure effect by increased calcium. The regulation of ADH is through osmolality of blood. That means if there is decreased osmolality, that means if there is hemodilation, you already have so much water inside, this will suppress ADH secretion. And if there is increased osmolality, that is hemoconcentration, it will stimulate the ADH secretion. So, excess secretion of ADH often results from ectopic production of ADH by malignant tumors. And this syndrome is also known as syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion, or SIADH. And the deficiency of ADH results in diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus is characterized by excretion of large volumes of urine, which is really diluted, and this can result in dehydration and all. So that was about ADH. Then oxytocin. Oxytocin, the word means to stimulate birth. Now what happens when there is labor? You have these estrogen primed uterus. You have this estrogen primed uterus, that is the number of, and then there is a number of oxytocin receptors which increases 100 to 200 times, and oxytocin goes and it acts there, okay, and it promotes labor. Then there is an effect on mammary glands. Suckling of the breast generates neurogenic reflex. This will produce oxytocin and will cause the contraction of myoepithelial cells, expelling the milk into ducts from the SNI. So, oxytocin helps in the contraction of the uterus, and oxytocin helps in the contraction of the myoepithelial cell for production of milk. So, the effect that is on the mammary glands is galactobolic effect, and the effect that is on the uterus is the uterine effect. All right. Okay. Then we learned that neuropeptides were ADH and oxytocin. Then this hypothalamic releasing factors. This secretion of hormones by Adreno Hypothesis or anterior pituitary is controlled by different releasing factors, okay, and are regulated by releasing factors and inhibitory factors. The hormones of anterior pituitary, those were the posterior pituitary hormones. These are the hormones of anterior pituitary, and the first one, which is a very important one, is the growth hormone. Now, growth hormone is a single polypeptide chain of 191 amino acids. It has 2 disulfide bonds between the adjacent cysteine residues, which is between 53rd and 165th amino acid, and 182nd and 189th amino acids. Okay, these are the places where there is cysteine and there is disulfide bond. It has a structural similarity with prolactin and human placental lactogen. So it will have these functions of prolactin also. It is synthesized by the acidophils these are the somatotropic cells of anterior pituitary. And the plasma concentration is less than 2 mg per deciliter during daytime, with secretory peak which appears 3 hours after meal. Maximum level of growth hormone during sleep, that is during sleep, peak required for anabolic and repair processes. So, why you need this maximum level of growth hormone? That is for anabolic processes and repair processes in your body. So, mechanism of action, it acts by binding to specific membrane receptors on its target cell. And though exact mechanism is not known, a secondary messenger, they use the secondary messenger, but the exact mechanism is not known. So, the first we'll study the effect of growth hormone on different metabolisms. The first one is the effect on carbohydrate metabolism. First of all, you have to remember that growth hormone is a diabetogenic hormone, okay. As it is a diabetogenic hormone causing diabetes, it is antagonizing the effect of insulin. Okay. Then there is tropic effect on pancreatic isles. That means it has this effect that it will go to the pancreas and have that effect on them. Okay. So prolonged secretion will increase glucose level despite compensatory increase in insulin. The glucose is increased, compensatory insulin is being produced, and but despite of this, there will be increased glucose level because insulin won't be able to combat that glucose levels. Thus, it induces insulin resistance and it inhibits glucose uptake by muscles and adipose cells. Thus, four major effects are decreased utilization of glucose for energy, increased mobilization and utilization of fatty acids, that is the lipolytic action, breakdown of lipids. There is increased gluconeogenesis, making of glucose, and thus hyperglycemia. Decreased insulin sensitivity and its hypoglycemic effects are there. Then it increases the liver glycogen and also the muscle and cardiac glycogen by reducing glycolysis. The glucose breakdown is reduced, and excess may lead to burnout of the beta cells of the insulin, and thus you will have this full blown picture of diabetes mellitus and hyperglycemia. Excess may lead to that's the same thing. So actually the whole picture is giving you a full blown diabetic picture. Okay. The effects on protein metabolism, you have to remember that it is an anabolic hormone, as the name indicates, growth hormone. So it is an anabolic hormone, increases protein and collagen synthesis, increases amino acid transport through cell membranes, has direct effect on ribosome and transcription processes. It is helping in all the amino acids and proteins anabolic processes. It prevents the breakdown because it is an anabolic hormone, it won't let it catabolize. Breakdown is prevented by fat mobilizing action and has protein sparing action. That means the energy is taken up from fat and protein is spared. Then they also increase DNA and RNA synthesis. Effect on fat metabolism, it enhances lipolysis. That means it enhances the breakdown and increases free fatty acid levels. In insulin deficiency, it can cause ketosis. Okay. Growth promoting effects, it helps in the growth of cells, and it causes growth of all tissues by promoting hypertrophy and hyperplasia. Skeletal effects, it promotes development of bone and cartilage. It stimulates linear growth by its action on epiphyseal cartilage plates of bones, and these effects are due to somatomidins, which are proteins produced in liver and are useful for growth. Okay, they're stimulated by the growth hormone. And if after adolescence, if there is this growth hormone release when the epiphyses of the long bones have united already, then their excess this growth hormone causes disproportionate growth and thickening of bones and soft tissues, giving rise to a condition called acromegaly. Okay, we'll see the picture. It also increases calcium absorption from GIT. There is increased excretion of hydroxyproline in urine during this growth and acromegaly. I already told you that they have this prolactin action. So the prolactin action of growth hormone will have this memotropic activity due to their resemblance of structure. They are regulated by growth hormone releasing hormone and growth hormone inhibitory hormone. So regulation is predominantly inhibitory. That means that growth hormone, it has this short loop feedback. That means a negative feedback which is gonna inhibit its release from the hypothalamus. Excess causes gigantism in children, acromegaly in adults, and congenital deficiency causes dwarfism, which is treated by giving growth hormone by the recombinant DNA technology. See, this is acromegaly and gigantism. Okay, this is the disorder of the insulin growth factor, the growth factors. Okay, which causes excess growth of hand, feet, and internal organs. Okay, so this is acromegaly and gigantism. This is dwarfism. Okay, this is dwarfism. This is all about today's lecture, and hopefully you understood, and inshallah we'll be doing the next lectures tomorrow, and we'll be continuing this anterior pituitary hormones in the next lecture with some other hormones. Thank you very much